Hello, and welcome to Mish Mash Mayhem, episode something or other. I think it's 36.
Mish Mash Mayhem!
We're professional as always. The podcast where we take the schoolyard conversation of, hey, which one of these fictional characters is winning the fight, and we talk about it in a podcast.
So what this is, welcome to a podcast.
I feel welcomed.
Good. I wasn't necessarily welcoming only you. In fact, it was more directed at all the people whose names I don't know.
Oh.
Who may or may not be listening. I mean, I might know their name, but I wouldn't know that I knew their name.
Do you know whose name we do know?
No, I don't know whose name I don't know because I don't know it.
No, I said whose name we do know.
Oh, Greg Davies.
Well, yes. I mean, I was going to say our own names, because I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
And together, we're kind of cobbling this together.
We do that sometimes, it's fun. We haven't done it in a while.
It has been a few moons.
It has been a few moons. How many moons has it been exactly? Well, there's still only one moon in the sky, so it's been less than one moon.
I mean, surely there's more than one moon in the sky. I mean, there's more than one moon for this planet.
You're not wrong. There is more than one moon in the sky.
Space,
yeah. Space is cool.
Space is cool. What are we doing today?
Right, so what are we doing? We're doing the same thing we do every time.
Try to take over the world.
Try to take over the world with an army of fictional characters. And where are we going to get this army of fictional characters? We're going to get them off the black market. No, what we're going to do is we've got two fictional characters for you today. Two of our favourites from random places, including our reigning champion from last episode, AnakZahard from Tower of God web cartoon series. Not a manga, but close enough.
Manga adjacent.
What we're going to do is we're going to introduce both our characters, tell you a little bit about them, tell you about what they might bring to a fight to the death, what skills they have, what weapons they might use, what kind of things they might say to the opponent, and what design they would have on their reusable face masks.
Oh, wow. I mean, I know the answer to what they would say to the opponent.
Yes, me too.
Oh man, what would they have on their face?
Yeah, I know it's a good question, isn't it? But we barely ever answer the random question I throw out. So we'll just maybe we won't leave it. Maybe we will.
I mean, I tend to if I remember by the time I finish what the question was when I finished introducing my character, I'll answer it.
Cool, I love it. So then once we've gone through all these people, we're going to take them into a random battlefield generated by casting the
Die of Death.
To see where they're going to fight, we're going to make up some rules on that battlefield based on our whims and how we feel about it at this moment in time. And then we're going to throw them together and see who would win. If you win, you're three fights in a row. Well, for every episode. It's like Donkey. You ever played Donkey? I mean, I'm not talking to you, CK, because we used to play Donkey and Horse all the time in the green with a football or something.
Yes. Yeah, it's like Horse, not Donkey. Donkey's a card game.
I mean, you could play Donkey Horse.
Well, I mean, yes, okay, the word is technically interchangeable. If anything, It's more like Pig, which is the American version, because there's only 3 letters.
Yeah.
But it's like reverse Horse, because you get things for winning rather than losing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's a good point. It is a reverse Horse. So, win one round, you get your Mish. You win second round, you get your Mash. And everybody knows Badger loves mashed potato.
You're going to feel so bad when I'm bringing Badger in as my character.
And he doesn't win his Mash. I'm not going to feel bad if you bring Badger in from Bodger and Badger. To any listeners who don't know what Bodger and Badger is, it's a British classic.
I never liked Bodger and Badger.
I loved it. It was about a man who lived with a badger called Badger, and the man was called Bodger. There was also a mouse called Mousy, who was Badger's best friend. And Badger loved mashed potato, and they often got on really weird adventures, and there was often mashed potato bloody everywhere.
Yeah, I think they just tended to throw mashed potato around the house.
Yes. Mashed potato ever. But whoever wins their Mish Mash and their Mayhem for their third victory enters our Hall of Fame, where we currently have 6 previous combatants. I'm not going to list them because I can't remember them all.
I have it written down.
Yeah, but here's the written down. And then once we've got 8 Hall of Famers, there'll be some Hall of Fame Ultra Mega Specials to find out who is the ultimate of the
winner of season 1.
winner of season 1.
Yeah, the problem with a season length that is undetermined is that, we're coming up to been doing this for 2 years now and we haven't finished season 1.
Yeah, no. It also doesn't help that I've been away a lot recently.
Oh, no,
Apologies for the discontinuities, but we're going to try and get a lot of episodes recorded this break in my work, so there'll be some bam, bam, bam consistency. Hopefully,
that's it. We're hoping that we can now record at least enough to get us up to Christmas.
Well, further than Christmas.
Well, yeah, potentially, but we normally have break at Christmas anyway.
Oh yeah, that's true. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Tradition dictates that we introduce the characters by reigning champions first to keep up the air of suspense about the new combatant. And today's no different, or is it?
No, it's not.
Today's no different. Lovely, that's what I like to hear. Have you got anything additional to add before we begin the beginning? Well, the middle, I suppose.
Just generally, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. It's always an honour, and I really appreciate it.
You are welcome for me letting you onto the show that you made. All right. So last week's champion beat what's his nugget, Krauser. And by last week, I mean last episodes, because I think we don't have weeks.
I like that we don't release an episode every week, but we normally say week anyway because we're idiots. But now it's actually it's been a particularly huge amount of time, and you still went, yeah, last week.
Last week. So easy. So easy to say. AnakZahard, Yahad, who knows? From it literally on the Wikipedia, it has AnakZahard and then in brackets AnakZahard. So who knows? From the Tower of God. What is the Tower of God, you ask?
What is the Tower of God?
Well, lovely. Not only being a webcomic, the titular place is a very tall tower. I don't really know how many floors it's got. I think it's got like 200 or something. Filled with a mysterious substance.
Girl.
Sorry?
Filled with a mysterious girl.
Filled with a mysterious girl. Peter Andre wants to get there, but he can't. Permeated, I suppose, is a better word than filled. Permeated by a mysterious substance called Shrinsbury. In the tower, people get entered and they fight to climb from floor to floor in order to get to the top. And by getting to the top, all their dreams and aspirations will be rewarded by the king of Zahard. AnakZahard, you'll notice, shares a surname with the king. That is because she is one of Zahard's princesses. That is one of his daughters. Although she is technically only a demi-princess because she is actually the daughter of an actual princess. So, she's...
So she's the granddaughter of the king.
Yes.
Cool.
Climbing the tower, she is mostly climbing the tower for revenge for the death of her mother.
Killing people's mum is bad.
I think killing anyone is bad, unless they're bad. Well, I mean, it's still bad. I mean, really, there's normally a justice system which will take care of it. Occasionally. So this is the world that AnakZahard finds herself in, climbing the tower to avenge her mother's death by getting revenge. To revenge, get revenge. In it. Right.
Yeah.
AnakZahard. She looks a bit like a lizard, but because she's green and humanoid with a big lizard tail, she's got short brown bob hair, like a bob cut. Bob, bob, bob. But don't let that fool you, because she's a badass.
Oh, man.
As mentioned.
Wait, are people with bob cuts not normally a badass?
I mean, think of Velma from Scooby-Doo.
Sure.
Oh, there you go. It's the only evidence we need. I'm quite impressed I managed to come up with that so quickly.
I mean, she's the clever one. Without her, then none of them would get anything done.
That is very true. Fred and Daphne would probably just run off and have lots of children. Who on earth is the other one who isn't Shaggy?
There is another one. Scooby. Oh. Scooby is the other one that isn't Shaggy.
For some reason, I thought there was 5 of them. I guess I accidentally anthropomorphized Scooby even more.
Yeah, I can say there is 5 of them. One of them's a big dog.
Oh dear.
Interestingly, this is the famous 5 who also solve mysteries. There's 5 of them and one of them's a dog.
But the secret 7, the 7 of them.
Is one of them a dog?
No, but I think they have a dog. They're a group of fictional child detectives. Peter, Janet, Pam, Barbara, Jack, Colin, George. So that's 7 people, but there is also a dog. I can see it on the front cover of one of their books.
You don't get the name Pam very much anymore, do you?
Because it's shit. I'm sorry. To anyone named Pam, your name isn't shit.
Yeah, first Arthur Douglas and now Pam.
Arthur Douglas. I googled Secret 7 dog, and it doesn't tell me. He is not an official member of the Secret 7, but the children count him as one. Tell me his name.
Dog.
Timmy was a dog. No, that's a different fucking adventure. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter.
What we've learned today is that Timmy was a dog in a different fucking adventure.
Timmy was a dog in an adventure of children.
Somewhere out there, children had a dog called Timmy. They went on an adventure.
Children have read about a children's dog called Timmy. Maybe adults have read about it too. Who knows? Anyway, as a blood relative of King Zahard, she has diluted version of his blood because bloodlines is a thing. In real life, it is a thing, but I'm not really sure that actually blood is a thing. But it's a metaphor, I guess, for genetics.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't say I necessarily have a diluted version of my parents' genetics. I have of their blood. Sorry, I would say I have the same genetics.
I have inherited traits of their physical characteristics.
Yes, and mental characteristics.
And mental characteristics. Anyway, due to this, she has enhanced abilities such as enhanced resistance, enhanced strength, enhanced speed, and the ability to use the permeating Shinsu to further enhance these abilities. If you haven't seen Tower of God, think of it kind of like a chakra, but whereas in Naruto, chakra is like permeating, throughout the whole world through all living things. In this, it's only present in the tower. I did a box like in my hands. She's incredibly strong as well. Physically strong. This owing to her Zahard bloodline relative powers, but also just because she is extremely strong and resistant to blows. Having been able to kick a man called Novik flying through the air and destroying the surrounding environment, like crashing through walls and stuff. Apparently, it's especially impressive as the guy she kicked is from the Har family, who are renowned for their physical capabilities. So, there you go.
So she's stronger than the strong people.
Well, she's as strong as the strong people. It's like if you're against a horse in a horse race that's from like a well-known family of horses that are like always really fast, and then you just about beat them, and you're like, good effort. You beat a family of horses that's known for being good.
Yes. Is it the same way that the loser gets turned into glue?
Yes, always. She also comes in with incredible willpower. Anak's immense pride in her own power sometimes comes across as arrogance, has been stated to be her own greatest strength and also her greatest weakness. Knowing that she's able to do things and having the mental capacity to push through, beyond the endurance of normal beings is incredibly useful and has been seen to aid her in many fights. But equally, thinking she can pull through and beat someone because she knows she's super strong can also sometimes prove unfortuitous.
If she underestimates her opponent.
It's more that she overestimates herself.
Yeah. But they have a similar sort of outcome.
They do, yes. This was best displayed in a fight against Kunran, where she was definitely losing because he'd used like a super ability that lasted for a certain amount of time. And all she had to do was, dodge around for a bit until he ran out of juice. But she was like, no, I'm going to beat you even when you're powered up because I can. And then they ended up knocking each other out. Silly. So, what would she come into a fight with? I hear you ask.
What would she come into a fight with?
Lovely. I'm glad you got that.
This is like like big TV shows and stuff when it like comes up on the box. It's just like laugh or like applaud.
Someone's holding up a board saying laugh. I mean, one of her greatest weapons is obviously her own body, her own physical punches and kicks, her martial combat skills. But in addition to that, she comes equipped with the Green April because we're going for a early days AnakZahard because I don't remember much of part 2. The Green April, that sounds funky, I hear you say. That's because it's one of the 13-month series of weapons, a like super special set of swords. Don't remember who they're made by. And the Green April is what's known in the business, in the Tower of God business, as an ignition weapon. A weapon which has an ordinary form, which looks kind of like a long, sturdy hook, but when ignited, which is, infusing it with power and igniting it, becomes a huge whip-like weapon that could change its length and shape and split into multiple branches, which we decided on a limit of 2 for the sake of ease of ourselves.
Yes.
I'm nodding to you and myself.
Okay.
With a fairly good range on that weapon and a huge power, she's able to wield this weapon incredibly effectively, especially when ignited, and it can go.
That sounds like a good sword noise.
It's a good sword noise. Next time, I'll do better, but that is our intro to AnakZahard.
Okay. Exciting. So, you're probably wondering what character I brought along with me.
I am exactly wondering that.
So the clue I gave last time is that there is in fact only one way to describe this character, and that is they are semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal of action, except for that one time when they were a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal of action in affairs, and that other one time when they were a teenage girl. And that is because this character is PerryThePlatypus. So you know how like sometimes when we have characters and we're like, hey, so there isn't really much to say about them. They kind of do a couple of things and they're really good at them.
I do.
Well, I feel like never has that been more true than in this situation.
You can milk PerryThePlatypus.
I mean, you can, because platypus give up sweat milk.
Yeah. Do they sweat it?
Yeah, they do. They don't have nipples. It's one of the things that makes them weird, and they sweat their milk.
That's crazy.
That's true. In fact, they even covered that in Phineas and Ferb in the episode where he was a teenage girl.
Oh my god, yeah, they concentrate milk to their belly and feed their young by sweating it out.
Yeah.
That's absolutely madness.
It sure is. So, interesting fact for you. When creating Phineas and Ferb, the reason it was decided that Perry would be a platypus, or their pet would be a platypus, is because firstly they wanted an animal that isn't very common and that you can't pick up in a pet store. So that way, if kids really like the show, they wouldn't be like, hey, Mum, I want to go get one of these.
Right, yep.
And then secondly, they chose platypuses because they figured most children watching the show wouldn't know any facts about platypuses, and therefore if they needed to make anything up, they could.
Yeah, fair.
So that was why they chose platypus.
I like it. I like it a lot.
The art style for PerryThePlatypus differs depending on whether he is in pet form or secret agent form. Because for those who don't know, PerryThePlatypus, when he is... So he's basically... His family who own him don't, like Phineas and Ferb, don't know that he's a secret agent. They just think he's a mild-mannered pet, PerryThePlatypus. The catchphrase being, he's a platypus, they don't do much. And when he's like in pet form, he's drawn... with his eyes don't have colour in, they're just black, like dots, and they both face in different directions to make him look really sort of derpy and not with it.
I mean, he is pretty derpy and not with it.
Yeah, but then when he goes into secret agent form, where he's Agent P, he's stood on 2 legs, he's very anthropomorphized. His eyes become blue, and he gets a fedora because he's trendy as fuck.
Yeah!
But then you might be wondering, what can a platypus do in a fight? Well, let me tell you, he can do judo, and that's it. The extent of which his combat skills are is he can do judo.
I was going to say, I feel like it's worth mentioning he does frequently thwart an evil scientist.
Oh yeah. Every episode, whatever. He battles Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who's an evil scientist, and he consistently defeats Doofenshmirtz with so he's an accomplished secret agent. I mean, he is the star agent of Oqua, which is the organization without a cool acronym, which is what all the animal pets sort of secret agents work for.
Oh, that was the acronym.
Yeah, Oqua is the organization without a cool acronym. They fight against Love Muffin, which is the League of Villainous Evildoers, maniacally united for frightening investments in naughtiness.
I mean, do you just remember that?
Yeah, I haven't looked that up. I do just know that.
Give that man a clap. I mean, as a platypus, he can swim pretty damn fast. I mean, he can swim fast with a power.
He's semi-aquatic, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose actually, canonically speaking of him fighting Doofenshmirtz, is he can run faster than a person. Because
Wow.
there's the bit in one of the films or extended episode specials or something. There's a bit in one of them where it's Perry, Petey the Panda, and Doofenshmirtz all running away from something, and Doofenshmirtz is like, "Oh, it's interesting to know that I'm faster than a panda and slower than a platypus." So, he can run slightly faster than an adult male.
Pretty good going.
Obviously, as well as it's judo, he does have the fact it's enhanced by the fact he can tail slap stuff because he's got a tail. He's also very clever and very intuitive. He's very good at using his environment around him. And I suppose a lot of his daring escapes, because before he fought Doofenshmirtz every time, he always gets captured.
He does.
I mean, there was one episode where they shook things up where he fought Doofenshmirtz and then got captured, but traditionally, he always gets captured. And then his escapes are kind of like if you imagine the really old Adam West style Batman, he always has just the right thing he needs sort of nearby to utilize the situation, or he has a utility items and stuff.
Classic.
Look at sort of what gadgets he's given by Okwa. The only thing it really mentions, well, I mean, he's got his hover car, but we don't use vehicles. That would just be how he arrives at whatever scene. The other thing he often has is an animal whistle to sort of summon, or not necessarily summon, but attract the over an animal that will help in the situation.
Yeah.
I can remember he definitely did a mouse. Off the top of my head, I can't think what other ones he's actually done. I have a feeling maybe elephant, but don't quote me on that. I have, but so potentially he could summon a random animal if there's one nearby. But yeah, that's pretty much what PerryThePlatypus would do. Again, interestingly, if we're going to go for your silly questions, what he would say to his opponent is nothing, because again, artistically different. The pet version of PerryThePlatypus kind of makes a noise where it goes.
That's a pretty good impression, actually.
I can say I can't do it that well, but okay, fair enough. I can do it reasonably.
I think it's better than what I would have done.
Cool. But yeah, it's that sort of noise. Whereas when he's in agent form, he doesn't actually make a noise, or at least very rarely makes noise. He communicates largely with body language, facial expressions, and occasional gestures.
You're not wrong.
So he probably wouldn't say anything to his opponent. And then, what the design would he have on his face mask? Well, he's an animal. He doesn't need to wear a face mask, so he wouldn't have any design.
Yeah, fair. There's that, isn't it?
Yeah, so whatever. But yeah, that's basically PerryThePlatypus.
Lovely beans.
Because, I mean, I enjoyed bringing in Ralph before, and I just sort of thought, hey, let's have another kids character. They're always silly.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Perry-the-Platypus?
Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Well, he probably does, actually.
Yeah,
he probably does secretly.
I mean, not that secretly. There's quite a lot of episodes where they work together to do various stuff.
Lovely.
I guess now we have to find out where the fight is taking place. Let me do that by rolling the Die of Death.
Die of Death.
Today's fight is taking place in a fan-suggested arena, thank you, Katie, for the suggestion, of a bowling alley.
A bowling alley. I love it. They can get their American milkshakes. They can have a burger.
Chili dog. Nachos.
Yeah, there's
you
always...
can put £2 into one of those sweet things where you turn it around and it gives you about 6 minstrels.
I mean, why not just buy your own minstrels? Bring them with you.
I mean, that would be the better way to do it, yeah.
All right, so tradition dictates that the winner from the previous fight is first on the scene, normally waiting. So, oh my god, you know exactly how PerryThePlatypus is going to enter, right?
Yeah.
Because he always enters in a weird way.
He'll probably smashing through the ceiling or something.
Okay, that wasn't what I was going for. I'm going to write it in spoilers.
No, wait, yeah, he's going to come out the ball thing.
Yes! That's what I've written.
Yeah.
We're so on the same wavelength. I love it. So, Anak's there, having a nice game of bowling by herself for some reason.
What a loner.
What a loser. They don't have bowling in the tower, and she's no longer in the tower because she's in a bowling alley. So, she's like, oh, what is this? What is this game? And, being used to these ridiculous test fights and stuff, she's like, oh, this is actually quite relaxing. I can just... And she's probably getting strike after strike after strike, let's be honest.
Yeah, she's enjoying herself. She's doing some getting some strikes, listening to the last sort of year's best pop music.
I imagine she'd listen to, grunge stuff.
Well, she doesn't get a choice. She's at a bowling alley. Bowling alley
Fair play.
Can you go there and be like, yo, mate, can you turn this shit off?
Can I have some My Chemical? They're not grunge, but who are grunge? Who's a grungy band?
Nirvana is the go-to grunge band, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. Or there was a band called Mudhoney, Screaming Trees, Silverchair.
Silverchair, I've heard of them.
I haven't heard of any of these. Candlebox.
No, I mean, to be honest, grunge isn't necessarily my forte.
No, Babes in Toyland. Who would ever Babes in Toyland?
I don't know, but it's a cool band name. I like it.
Anyway, yeah, she's there listening to this poppy doppy music, whatever. Watching the always really weird, like bowling alley. When you get a strike. And
I was just about to ask you: is what theme would she have gone for?
Oh, pirate maybe.
Pirate, yeah. That's a good theme.
So the strike is probably a bunch of bowling pins on a, like a pirate ship, but it's sailing along, and there's like one's wearing a captain's hat, and it looks across, and it sees like another ship full of gold, and then it fires the cannonball, and the cannonball goes straight through all 10 pins on the other ship and sinks the ship, and then it comes up with like strike.
Yes. I'm there. I'm really I've got a good visual image. I'm really sold on this.
And you can imagine it exactly in the graphics of a bowling alley.
I've got a better way for Perry to turn up. I've got it. Wait.
You've got a better way?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be great.
Oh, I know what it is. So Anak's just scored a strike. Down comes the repinning device, and she like turns away to get a drink of.
Oh, that isn't what I was going to say. But that's fun too.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say like it resets, but then it's got like the pink bit at the front. So then she gets the strike. So then she wins a prize, don't they?
Oh yes.
And then the prize she's handed is she's like, oh, platypus, and then it suddenly jumps up and puts on a fedora. She's like, bury the platypus.
I'm down with it. I like that too. I mean, we've just come up with 3 excellent ways. We could have 3 different episodes where Perry the Platypus comes into a bowling alley. We've got exit 1 comes out instead of a bowling ball. Exit 2 comes out as the lead pin. Exit 3 given as the prize. Maybe like a toy or something.
Yeah, that's it. I was thinking it'd be like, oh, a platypus toy, and then puts on the fedora, bury the platypus.
All right, I love it. Okay, so the pins come down. There's a pink pin at the front. Anak doesn't really, know many customs, but someone just happens to be watching because she's fucking smashing it. And so like watching, she bowls this ball at a hefty pace, and it plows into all 10 pins and scatters them into the backness. Not the stratosphere. Jesus Christ! And they come down, and the woman watches like, oh, you just scored our prize. Our prize for looking down our pins. Bear with me, I'll go get it. And she's like, oh, cool, a prize. I don't normally get prizes. What are prizes? And what is the prize?
Both good questions.
What is the prize?
Oh, it's a platypus toy.
It's a platypus toy. Oh. So she picks it up, gives it a squeeze. She's like, oh, that's weird. This is also quite warm for a toy. And just puts it down.
Places it down on the chair behind her. Goes back to her bowling. Scores an up strike. Turns around to pick up the ball to realise that it's stood up. We're now wearing a fedora. And it does the whole, it sticks out one hand and does the whole, come here, starting a fight thing. You know what I mean?
I do. Obviously, she can't say Perry the Platypus because she doesn't know who the hell that is. She's just like, what the fuck? Why is there...
Intrinsically, she has an urge to shout, Perry the Platypus!
So, yeah, right.
Unexpected, by which I mean completely expected!
Presses button, chop comes down. Right, so what's Perry doing? Because
wait, sorry. I just thought of something that I didn't. I don't know why I just thought this, but I meant to tell you because I thought you'd enjoy it. Before we start the fight, just one random side fact. While I was doing my Perry the Platypus research, I found a couple of critical receptions of him as a character.
Right.
One of them was, he's so cool, he makes James Bond look rubbish. And that just really tickled me.
Funny.
Sorry, anyway. How does Anak react to a platypus challenging her to a fight?
Well, that's a good question. He isn't a very big platypus, is he? And
He's, what, about knee height when he's up?
yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. She's from a place where you can't always judge people by their by their looks. And compression is a thing in the Tower of God. If people are too large to walk around the tower, they can get a like compression belt, which reduces them to a smaller size for ease of their own, transit around corridors and stuff. So, she might not necessarily be shocked at having a small thing there, but equally,
Sure.
she isn't in the tower. She's in a bowling alley. So compression isn't a thing because it can't be because they're not in a tower. So, her toys just turned into something, but I don't think she'd be, threatened in any way. I think she'd probably just be like, all right, that's a bit weird. And just, for the minute, just want to carry on her bowling. Like that little blue creature is a bit beneath her.
I imagine Perry would be initially confused and a bit put out by the fact that he's been ignored.
Yes, Anak just goes to grab another bowling ball that comes out the machine and goes to turn around to make merry another strike.
I think the only reasonable reaction that Perry would have would be to stop bowling in the alley next to her and try and beat her score.
He's so used to like championing against Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
But he's used to like really sort of childish, like petty competition.
Yeah, it's true. From his universe, that probably is the kind of thing he would do.
Wait, is this entire episode now going to be decided by instead of a fight by game of bowling?
I mean, if it is, I feel sorry. I don't think it will, but it might do. That bowling episode you didn't expect. I mean, Perry's got a way to catch up, and the balls are quite big for him. How's he going to manage it?
I don't know, but I feel like somehow he would, because he's a cartoon character.
I mean, he's usually got some gadgets, hasn't he, available? So maybe he's got like a remote control bowling ball.
Sure.
Yeah, that seems like the kind of thing he'd have. He'd just go to the alley, and it would be like who's his in charge person called? I don't remember.
Major Monogram, but it would be Carl who would be sent out to send him. Carl the intern.
Yeah, so maybe Carl.
Yeah, the guy who does the shoes at the bowling alley. I mean, I know you don't have to wear bowling shoes anymore, but the guy at the counter would actually just be Carl, and it'd be like he'll turn the bowling off or something. I don't know, to say she can't keep bowling.
Oh, okay. So Perry, like disheartened that he's been ignored.
Yeah,
goes to the bowling shoe reception place.
Yeah, the desk.
Yeah, and then Carl, a really pretty blonde girl or something,
who has some ludicrous disguise.
Like goes down, putting some shoes away, and Perry's like, oh yeah, and then like Carl stands up, and Carl looks like a kind of nerdy boy. I mean, he is a nerdy boy. Stands up, and he's like,
he looks like your very stereotypical weeby kid.
Yeah, he stands up, and he's like, what can I do for you, Perry? Perry doesn't say anything. Well, he doesn't say anything, does he? He would just have to convey it through.
You might be talking to Carl
through enhanced eyes, because that's how he communicates, isn't he? He just does eye expressions.
It nod over to the aisle where Anak is bowling.
Ah, right. I know what happened. And then Carl will press a button, right, as she's bowling, and the whole alley will just like tilt to one side.
So it gutter balls.
Right before. Like, and in cartoon kind of style, it'll roll along and like curve right at the end, and it will like just graze along all four of the external pins, and Anak will be furious.
Yeah, I mean, well, she was on 290, and then that happened.
It's a tragic affair. I don't think, could you be on 290?
Yeah, because doesn't the last 10 known from the fact that you get an extra ball?
Yeah, but both the strikes before that will count the next two scores, wouldn't they?
I don't know. So
I think she'd be on 270.
All right.
I think so. I feel like this is the kind of thing that we need to be. I found a bowling score simulator. So, interesting. It doesn't. So until you put the 0 in, you don't have a score. But so you don't have a score for your first two strikes. Her score would be 240 on. That would be what's displayed.
All right.
And then, depending on whatever her third bowl is, that would then add more points. And then she'd get the 2 strikes added from the strike before. Well, she'd get the 2 strikes worth 10 each. And then the strike in round 8 would count the the first strike. So that would be another 10. I think it would also count the strike before that, so that'd be an extra 10. Then the 240 would count both those. That's way too many. I don't fucking know. Whatever. Anyway, the machine would display 240 until she struck the 0, and then it would display 290.
It's a terrible shame, and you hate to see it.
It's a terrible shame, and you do hate to see it.
Anyway, so she's really upset about her bowling score of 219, and what?
She turns around. She expects it to be that bloody platypus thing. She doesn't know it's a platypus, probably. Maybe she does. Don't really know. Sees him at the counter with Carl, and it maybe Carl's wearing a disguise, and part of his disguise slips off or something. Classic. Knows that it was old Blue Boy's doing, and then she gets mad. I think the only reasonable response to this is to lob a bowling ball as hard as she can at Perry.
That's exactly what she would do. And you know what he would do? He'd tail slap it right back at her.
Oh my god, yes, because we always try to make these things as universe switchy as possible, and that is absolutely something that would happen in Phineas and Ferb.
If there's one thing I know, it's cartoons.
If there's one thing I know, it's cartoons. Oh my god. So Anak grabs one of the balls off the rail and just absolutely lobs it straight at Perry. And as it approaches Perry, he spins around and tail slaps it. And the bowling ball starts hurtling back towards Anak. And, she's a little bit confused by this. How on earth can a tiny platypus boy swing that back? But maybe she's not that surprised because of what I mentioned about not judging people by their appearance in the tower. But she'll just, sidestep jump out of the way of that bowling ball. And ironically, that bowling ball would then go and score a strike.
Amazing. I think after that, Perry would try and sort of run up and do a jumping punch at her or something.
Okay, so he's gonna run across, back towards the main alley and then jump and try and slap her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she would probably just go to block it with her hand. Perry's not stupid fast, is he? By any means. He's quick for a platypus. I'm not denying that. But, he's not zip. She's probably got time to react. So, goes to block it and then would go to react with her own punch would be the thing. Because, she's strong. She likes punching. So, a block, the kind of where you catch them, in all the cartoons. And then, he's got tiny hands as well. So she could try and grip his fist to keep him in, in place and then punch.
Fair enough. She's super strong and stuff, and he's just a platypus, so she should probably succeed in that.
Yeah. And Perry, in terms of Phineas and Ferb canon, he does take hits quite a lot.
Yes, he does.
All right, so obviously she would, if Perry takes this hit, he's gonna then fly back across the bowling alley from whence he came, maybe collide into the shoe rack. Carl would duck and his wig will come off or something as he ducks. We've introduced Carl into this by accident, but it's fine.
He's there now. It's kind
of and smashes into the shoe rack or something, and all the shelves and shoes start falling down. I'll say that while I'm actually constantly looking at the mic. All the shoes and shelves start falling down.
It makes that one hell of a mess, and probably quite a loud noise. Clearly, the only logical reaction is that Perry will emerge from a pile of shoes, throwing shoes.
Yes, that is exactly what he would do. I have no doubt in my mind.
Lobbing shoes like a mad little platypus.
Yeah, so there's a pile of shoes on the floor, and he pops out, and maybe he's got he starts off with a shoe on his head instead of his hat, and then that's the first one he throws when he looks up and sees he's not wearing his hat. And then he puts his hat back on and then starts just throwing shoes.
Yes, shoes are plenty.
Yeah, and to be honest, if this was if he was a real platypus or a real person, he wouldn't be able to throw those shoes the distance. But
or at the speed that he will.
Yeah, but because he's Perry the Platypus, he probably can throw them all the way across, because that's just the way of cartoons, isn't it?
It is.
However, that isn't going to change the fact that they're going to do bugger all when and if they hit Anak.
But it looks good.
It looks good. There's an impressive distance and veracity to his shoe lobbing. But honestly, Anak, after the dust is settling, she's looking over to see if she's done what she needs to do. He pops up and she's like, "Oh, and then like a shoe gets thrown at her and probably just like bounces off her and doesn't really do anything. She'd probably just start walking towards him. Actually, no, she probably wouldn't. She'd probably be angry. So she'd probably charge straight through the oncoming barrage of shoes, ready to jump over the counter and then like do either some kind of superhero style landing punch.
Okay, but I think as she goes over to jump over the counter, I think Perry would like backflip out of the way or something. Or no, he'd jump back and then like kick off a shelf behind him so as she lands, he can like do a big superhero-y punch.
Yeah, sure. So, Anak's like running through this barrage of shoes that are just bouncing off left and right, leaps into the air over the counter, withdraws her arm and goes to plow it into the floor in the pile of shoes where Perry is. And at the last minute, Perry just like flips out the shoe pile. Anak crashes into them, sending shoes, wood, dust, splinters, flooring everywhere. And Perry ricochets off the back wall, but like jump bounces, ricochets off the back wall and flies forward. Is he going to go for a tail slap or a punch?
A punch, because he's moving forward, I think.
Yep, and goes to just punch Anak in the
face.
In the face. I mean, Perry's punches are pretty strong for a platypus.
Yeah, they're comparable with human punches.
They're comparable with human punches. That is the level that we're equating to here. Unfortunately, Anak is well versed to more than human punches. So I'm not saying he's going to miss because, she's just like does some kind of cool superhero thing. She's confident in her abilities. There's dust and cloud everywhere. He's going to land that punch, but I don't think it's going to have much of an effect other than kind of like ow, what, just more enraging that she's been hit by this bloody platypus again.
Yeah.
Where is Perry's like landing destination after this leaping recoil punch?
Well, if she's not going to be like knocked or anything by this punch, I imagine he'll probably just sort of land near her, won't he? Because you sort of think the momentum where he's flying towards her, if he's not going to like knock her down or anything, he's just going to sort of flop into her a bit, isn't he? So I imagine he's trying to land next to her.
Because he's used to punching, say, Dr. Doofenshmirtz or a Dr. Doofenshmirtz machine.
Yeah.
And it's probably used to like, a bit of recoil. And, I imagine her face would turn a bit, whatever way it needs to turn for that punch. But I don't imagine there'd be much else of a movement. So he just like lands and looks a bit sad and confused.
I felt like that was a good punch, and I thought it would hurt her more.
Yeah.
But he conveys it through body language.
From her superhero like landing pose, probably just go straight for a kick because he's probably going to be like near one of her like rear kind of like quarters. If you're thinking of a clock, she's facing 12 o'clock. Like he's probably somewhere in the 4-5 zone, you'd guess.
Yeah.
4-5 or 7-8, they're the same thing. So she'll just, go straight for a kick out of her kind of crouch pose, bam, into old Pezza the P.
I mean, yeah, that would probably kick him. And then she's like super strong and stuff, which again, he's not used to because he's fighting a normal human. So it probably will really mess him off.
If as well, like she jumped over a counter and then he like lands behind her, he's probably going to go straight and then through that counter because that counter is going to be behind her, all along that side. So he's going to get kicked into and, probably your counters aren't like walls or anything. They're just made of wood and stuff. And it's pretty close. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets kicked clean through that counter or as clean as a blue platypus can be kicked through a wooden bowling alley shoe counter.
Yeah.
Like splinters and more dust fly everywhere. Don't know what's happening to old Pezza at this time, but in the meanwhile, Anak would probably just like jump onto the remains of the. I think Perry is quite small, so he probably wouldn't destroy the whole counter. So she'll just probably like jump on top to see where he goes.
Well, by the time she's jumped up, I mean he'll probably just be picking himself up off the floor in amongst the rubble of the section of shelf he's taken out with him.
Yes. Which may or may not look like Perry.
Oh yeah, it would be platypus shaped if he was kind of like not quite like stretched out like a star, but like all of his limbs out in a sort of a weird direction and
just chaos everywhere. So Perry's just picking himself up. Has he got anything up his sleeve? Because Anak's probably going to go for the kind of style of punch that Perry did, where like he leaped off a wall
Yeah, jump off the desk and sort of do a diving
Yeah.
punch sort of maneuver.
Yeah.
I mean, I think his best thing there is he's going to try and like jump up and like try and dodge it, so sort of jump over her as she gets there, but then tail slap her down into the floor as she goes past. Like,
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And then
kind of use like her because use her momentum against her sort of thing, because he's like, well, I did a leaping punch, which is about as strong a punch as you can do, and it just didn't bother her that much. So maybe if I can use like her force against her.
Yeah, and then I'm imagining in his head, if it was like a cartoon villain, that he'd slap off them, recoil, and then hang off a light on the ceiling or something.
I know. Well, if he's successful, I've got a plan. I need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's like dusting himself off. Anak, just like grips her toes over the edge and then leaps forward into a withdrawing again for another punch at the old Platy boy. He jumps into the air and like tries, in like a kind of flip style, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Goes to tail slap, but I don't think it's going to do a great deal.
No.
I do think it will hit.
Okay, so you think he'll successfully dodge and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because she's unable to enhance her speed because she's not in the tower. So she is she is quick, but he would have got launched quite a long distance by the kick. By the time she's jumped up onto the thing and toying with him a little bit, I think there'll be enough time for him to jump out, prepare himself to jump out the way, and he'll probably land his tail slap as well. I just don't think it will be very effective.
Fair. You don't think the fact that he's no longer there and she's basically going to punch into the floor will sort of do much damage to her either?
I mean, like, it might hurt her a little bit.
Sure, but only superficial.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing is, I think when he's going to tail slap her, he can use that to bounce himself sort of away from the bowling alley, and he's going to take cover behind the air hockey table.
Okay, yeah.
She's going to turn around and see where he's gone. He's going to stick his head up, and he's holding like a puck in his hand, and then he does like a flurry, and then he's suddenly got like 5, and he's going to like frisbee them all at her.
I love it.
It's going to be amazing. Like they do with sort of like shurikens, but like...
Yeah, fans out like a hand of like 5.
Yeah, and it's just going to be like launching air hockey pucks at her.
And this is probably going to be a very similar situation to the shoe situation.
Yeah,
like,
I'll be honest with you. I feel like Perry's going to lose this. I'm just going to see how many cartoon things I can do before he defeats him.
Yeah, like they're going to smash into a bit. Anak, she probably doesn't feel the need to get her sword out because it's just there's no requirement for it. She can just take out her rage the old-fashioned way.
Like when you need to take out your rage by going to punch a platypus.
Yes,
we've all been there.
Yeah, we have all been there. So again, she'll probably just like go to run towards him, but this time instead of just going for like a regular. Well, I suppose he's behind a table this time, isn't he? But she'll probably go for like a Is he on the table, behind the table? How is he attached?
Yeah, he's probably on it.
All right, so this is her plan. How much it happens, this is what I'm envisioning in my mind. But how much it happens or not is she'll run towards it, the table, do like a jump tail slap onto the close end of the table, which may or may not, also get Perry. But if it doesn't, it would at least flip him into the air. Yeah. And maybe the ceiling, where she can then get him again with a punch or a kick or something.
Well, I think as she goes to slam down on the table, Perry's going to jump onto what they call like the things you hold when you're playing air hockey.
A hold puck.
I don't know, but you know what I mean, like just the things you hold to hit the puck with. He's going to jump onto one of them and basically surf it across the air hockey table out of the way because it will hover. So, I mean, I think the air hockey table will get destroyed, but he'll sort of evade any damage.
So, well, he actually comes to tail, like does a somersault tail slap, almost cleave the table in 2, but not like a clean cleave like a sword, like a smashing cleave.
Yeah.
Perry's got on top of this. The side that's nearer her will, be forced down, and the other side will, kind of leave her. So is he going to slide down towards her on this puck thing?
No, I think he's going to slide away to like avoid damage.
Oh, so he will get like launched into the air on the puck thing instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And obviously he'll land by the pool table, where he'll start like trick shotting pool balls at. Like he'll just be like, he'll grab a cue and he'll be like hitting the balls in the way that they sort of bounce.
Yeah. All right. So Anak does this leaping tail slap onto the ice hockey table as Perry jumps to his puck and smashes it and kind of launches Perry into the air, where he's just before he kicked himself backwards a bit and gave him some momentum, lands by the pool table and like just picks up a cue to start chipping almost balls at Anak. Anak probably just will grab. She'll probably just like grab, half of the ice hockey table and just lob it straight. Those balls again. Some of them might hit, some of them won't, because it's a lot harder to chip balls than it is to throw ice hockey pucks or shoes.
Yes,
that's a fact.
It is a fact.
Throw the ice hockey table, half the ice hockey table at old Pezza P.
I mean, I think they'll hit him. I really don't expect he'll be expecting to have air hockey table thrown at him.
Half an ice hockey table.
Air
hockey table. Why do I keep calling it ice hockey table?
Because you're an idiot.
Can you imagine how much more expensive it would be to have an ice hockey table? Air hockey table.
Yeah, it'd be hard to keep cold.
Yeah, it'd be really cold. It would melt. You'd have to keep it. You'd have to resurface it every now and again because, like, people are going to scratch that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they'll be skating on it.
Like you could skate on a table.
Well, that's not how ice hockey works, right? Or would it just be like an icy foosball table?
Yeah, no, I was like thinking instead of an air hockey table where it blows air up, it was just a sheet of ice.
All right, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's much more sensible.
So yeah, she'll swing it around and throw it, and then with her spin momentum, run towards him to go a bit aggro.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think he'll try his best to sort of block her hits. And the way, because he's sort of, judo is apparently his martial arts of choice, so he's quite good at sort of parrying and such.
Yeah.
So he'll be there thinking, right, I can just block a few of her punches and wait for an opening and then retaliate. Little does he know that, because of her massively super strength, I think he can only block one or two and he's going to get beaten down.
Yeah. So, like the table crashes across the top of the pool table, knocks Perry off and onto like the floor. And, he's just like pushing the debris off from his Anak, arrives at him, just has enough time to like put up a kind of like, attempt at a block and manages to probably just more than block it, push himself out of the way of the fist.
Yeah.
But then comes another punch and maybe he manages to push himself out of the way of the fist again.
But not a third time.
Not a third time. And, smashing Perry across distance-wise has not been super effective. So, and she's got him in a disadvantageous position. So straight into the floor is the best way. Keep him in the same place because she's fed up of chasing him across the chaos they've caused in this bowling alley.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point she can probably just lay into him and there's not really much he can do.
Alas, poor Perry.
She's going to keep pounding into him until he becomes a bloody platypus pulp upon
a slight with some slight hint of milk.
Ew.
I mean, probably not because Perry.
Minty? Not minty. Does anybody want milky platypus chunks?
Did you know that platypus have minty flavoured milk?
Yeah, they swear mint. What?
I mean, I wonder if you were to like rub a platypus on mint leaves before it sweated its milk, would it make the milk slightly minty?
Probably.
I love it. By the way, by I love it, I don't mean I'm going to rub a platypus across some mint leaves and try and get a minty milk drink. I mean, the idea of that amuses me.
I mean, I think that'd be right. Like, I'd try a mint milkshake. I'd give that a go.
You'd try it.
Yeah.
I had a mint milkshake on the boat. It's good. But it wasn't made by rubbing a platypus across mint leaves.
Well, no, but I mean, I'd try platypus milk if it was to me. How often can you say I've had platypus milk?
Not very often. Unless you... you can't say very often.
You're a baby platypus. In which case, probably
you can't say it often truthfully, but I could say it quite a lot right now.
Well,
I've had platypus milk. I've had platypus milk.
Right.
I've had platypus
milk. Look, I'm just saying, if somebody had roast beef 6 times, you'd hardly say they're constantly eating roast beef.
Classic red dwarf. You wouldn't say they've constantly had roast beef.
But that was that fight. That fight that happened in the bowling alley. Thank you again, Kate, for suggesting the bowling alley.
That was a fun place for Perry.
It was. I had a lot of fun. I was thinking, how can I involve Dance Dance Revolution in a way that I don't like? Because I was thinking, logically speaking, the next thing would be like the basketball hoops.
Yeah. I mean, Perry was a fun character. I think he would have had a lot of trouble against most people.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's not the point of the show, is it? It's not the people who we think are best. It's the people who we think are fun and our favourites. And a bit of cartoon stamina saw him through the first waves and gave us some entertaining moments and some classic cartoon capers. Yes, thank you for finishing that sentence for me.
Yes, that was pretty much what I wanted from Perry, to be honest, was just to do some stupid cartoon stuff.
I mean, it was a good show. It was a good show. I enjoyed it.
I was going to say, I had fun. Yes.
And Anak will look back and she'll be like, I had fun too.
Oh, that's really nice.
And she's walking away, making bloody footprints across the floor.
And Carl's just like, major monogram, I'm going to have to...
Oh dear. Lovely. Well.
Cool.
With that then, Anak earns her mash.
She does. She's mashed platypus.
Yes, she earns her mash by mashing a platypus. And that puts her one entrance away, or one victory away from her entrance into the Hall of Fame. But to do that, she's going to have to beat another person. A person who mysteriously is as this. Enter clue here.
So, I mean, I feel like there may be some repeated themes in the next battle, if I'm honest with you. Because,
that's okay.
I mean, I'm not going to say that, Anak's getting into the Hall of Fame, but our clue for next time is that it will be another anthropomorphic animal.
Is it Scooby-Doo?
It isn't Scooby-Doo. And it is one who, by day, works at a janitor, but by night fights crime.
By day does what?
He works as a janitor.
I don't know who this is.
His day job is he's a janitor, but he's also a crime fighter.
I don't know who this is.
Wow. You'll find out when we do
the
recording.
After lunch.
After lunch, that's right. We're doing a double record today.
Double record.
So that was our episode. If you can get in contact with us. If you think that fight would have gone differently, please let us know. You can do that over on our email address, mishmashmayhem@tinktailorssoldiersponge.com. Or if you want to say, hey, I've got a better idea for a place in a bowling alley, thanks Katie for suggesting that, but suck it because I can do better, then you can let us know a better location for a fight to take place over on our Twitter, @mishmashmayhem on the Twitter. You can also let us know characters you'd like to take place in fights. If you thought PerryThePlatypus was a stupid idea, firstly, you're wrong, but secondly, suggest who you would like. Always looking for more characters. Mr. Wade, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. So I'm going to be away for Christmas this year.
Yeah.
I know this already. So we're having our Christmas in not the weekend coming up, but the next weekend. So going to have an early Christmas, preparing all our Christmas things. We've bought lots of alcohol so we can make porn star martinis, espresso martinis, and other things.
That's cool. Yeah, I know Kate spent a lot of time drinking espresso martinis when we were on holiday last.
They're banging.
Cool. Right. And that's that then. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Catch you all late.
Join Mike and Tom for nerdy conversation with a multitude of guests on the Hat of Many Things.
Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
I'm Mark, a librarian and professional wrestling ring announcer.
I cast League of Legends.
Soteros Filbricato, best known for my work with White Wolf and Onyx Path Publishing on the World of Darkness.
Hi, I'm Jason Carl. I'm the producer of V5 at White Wolf.
Yeah, my name is Johanna Pettersson. I'm a Finnish game designer.